Welcome to Just Minding My Business Radio, where we are moving at the speed of God, learning what we didn't know we didn't know. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
So grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use. Welcome to Just Minding My Business. I hope you had an awesome day. As we move into the holiday season, with that comes spending. Today, we have Jovan Jackson, who is an entrepreneur, mother, author, and spiritual woman with a passion for people, known as a financial coach of hope. Jovan Jackson's drive and passion to teach financial literacy has led her to become a sought-after wealth manager and consultant in the Baltimore, D.C. metropolitan area. A native of Baltimore, Jovan has been featured on countless radio shows and taught many workshops for private and government corporations. She also facilitates in spiritual settings through her economic empowerment ministry. Jovan's book, You Be the Bank, Finance Yourself to Wealth, is a financial book that teaches 100 plus years of secret strategies that the wealthy has been using for years to build wealth. Well, welcome, Jovan, to the show. We appreciate you dropping in and sharing your wisdom and your knowledge about finances.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Okay, so I always want to know, how did you become what you are today?
Well, of course, we know there's a history behind that. I would say God gave me a financial mind, and it started as a child. I was raised by my grandparents, and my mom, back in those times, she was a functional addict. And one of the things that she did, along with her girlfriends, some of her girlfriends who lived in the neighborhood, we lived in a real tight-knit community. One of the things they did at an early age was my mom used to borrow money from me. Always had a mindset of people would, family would give you money for birthdays and Christmas and things like that. And I was one of those kids who would save it. And my mom would come and say, Jovan, let me borrow $10 and I will give you back $15. So of course I could add very well. That was a no-brainer. I said, okay, absolutely. But at the time I didn't know that she was teaching me a valuable lesson. And what we know today is usury or interest, right? She was teaching me about how to be a lender at an early age and get return back on my money. So I grew up as a child with that frame of thinking about understanding the benefit of saving and lending and getting more of my money. And then of course God just gave me that mind to just keep things together tight financially. So that's kind of how I just grew up with that mindset from an early age. Even coming into early adulthood, I had good credit and I knew the value of having good credit. I probably didn't know it 100%, but I knew enough that that's something that I needed to strive for. So, that's kind of where it started for me. In my early childhood ages of just kind of being diligent with my personal finances. And then as I continued to grow and learn and read more, it became more of a passion for me. And then, of course, being able to help others just kind of fell right into play. Of course, I believe, God don't give us things just for our own personal gain and benefit, but also to be a blessing to others. And so here I am today.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I like your start, loan me $10 and I'll give you $15. That was a very, very good lesson.
Absolutely.
Very good lesson. So When did you start your entrepreneur road?
So for me, I started in 2006. So we're looking at about 13 years ago. After I got out of high school, I went into the Army. And so I came out of the Army and went to work for corporate America as a government contractor. And during that time, I had a really good salary. I was about 21 years old, making almost 50 grand, no college degree or anything at that time, and things were going very well. And then I kind of someone introduced me to having a home-based business. And at that point, I understood for me at that time, and even to this day, of course, it's crucial to have that home-based business just simply for the tax benefits that comes along with that. And so that kind of launched me into the whole business mind, a business world. And then from there, I had another type of business. Then I kind of got into the financial side businesses. And of course, that's where it kind of took off for me. And I was working, I had a part-time business with my full-time job. And then it came to a point where I had a decision that I wanted to make. And that decision was, did I want to continue to I looked at it at the time as wasting a lot of time on the 9 to 5 because I didn't have enough time to do the things that I really enjoy doing. And so it was in 2006 that I had, I guess you could say, one of the greatest problems in the world to have. And that was to make a decision of, did I want to focus on my dream or continue on, on the safe side. And so I chose to dive out there into the deep water. So going on 13 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is just, and I think that's what typically happens is, you do your 9 to 5,
Mm-hmm.
and, you're grateful for it.
Yes, ma'am.
Without a doubt. But it comes a point in time where you have to make that decision as to whether you want to continue the 9 to 5 or use that 9 to 5 time to really build your dream.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm an advocate, because I know sometimes a lot of business people, especially those who are a little more seasoned, sometimes they push entrepreneurship, and that I do. But I'm also I'm not that one who say quit your job. I don't believe in that, because a lot of times, if you be smart about it, you can create a bridge for yourself. A bridge to get you from the job to the business side of it, and kind of transition in a way that will be a lot more painless. Let me say that. A lot of times people jump out of the airplane without a parachute, and then and then they have, they struggle. They have some traumatic experiences where they could have transitioned a little better. So absolutely, for me, that 9 to 5 for me was phenomenal. It allowed me to buy my first home, build a second home. None of those things is easy to do just as an entrepreneur. So, it definitely gave me the money to start buying real estate, things like that. So I'm the big advocate on, yes, work that 9 to 5 until you don't have to, until you can afford to take a leap out of there. So I always like to let people know that, don't don't get sucked into the hype.
Oh, yeah.
Very important.
Yes, because everything is 30 days.
That's right.
Everything.
That's
so
right.
You've got to be able to live.
That's right.
Every 30 days as painlessly as possible.
That's right. That's right.
Don't invite pain.
Yeah, and even with a job, sometimes it ain't painless.
That's right. That's right. So imagine not having a check coming in that you can count on. So it's, you know what I mean?
I do. Now, one of the things, since we're on the topic of entrepreneurship, we all know that when you first start a business, it's no every week paycheck. It's no every 2-week paycheck. It might not even be a paycheck for a few months.
That's right.
Or better.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times, staying motivated while you're going through these tough areas can make you or break you.
Yes, Lord.
So, what kind of tips can you share with our entrepreneurs that are going to help them stay motivated while they're going through the rough times of entrepreneurship?
Yeah. Whew, that's a good one. I would say first and foremost for me, I'm a woman of great faith and spiritual guidance from God. So for me, I think it's very important that you have to have a strong faith muscle. First and foremost, you got to build that faith muscle up, especially if you stand up being it, for the long run. And just kind of think about and remember that, some of the last situations that were tough for you that you dealt with in the past, you made it out of that, right? Mm-hmm. And so the same thing will happen in the current one too. You'll make it out of it. And so that's very important, just to kind of have that belief and faith that it's going to work out for you. If you kind of start there, even when it gets tough, it just kind of focus on the end and not on your current situation. I think for me, that has helped me a lot. Secondly, it's very important that you surround yourself with other faith-believing people as well, right? People who can pray you through some things and speak to you and over your life and remind you just how awesome you are, how much you are an overcomer and how victorious you are, even in your wilderness experience. I think that's so important. A lot of times, we going through our situation and sometimes we go and talk to the wrong people. For one, you definitely can't talk to a person who's not an entrepreneur, because they're not going to understand right from the beginning. You understand that the first thing they're going to tell you, girl, you better go get a job, or girl, I don't know, they going because their mind is just not where you are. So it's very important that you connect with other people who believe in your vision and your goal, and who's going to be able to really speak to the champion in you, because a lot of times, sometimes we can't see that champion when it's dark, right? When it's real dark, we can't see that champion. Sometimes we need someone else to kind of help us see it. And then just pretty much training, your mind to focus on what it is you want instead of what you don't want during those tough times. And that's a process. That's not something that sounds really easily said and done, especially for those people who just might not ordinarily be optimistic people, faith believing type of people. That's something that you kind of got to train yourself to develop and to become that person, of just kind of focusing on what you want versus what you don't want. And again, it may sound cliche, it may sound a little easier said than done, but it is possible once you kind of start building that muscle up as you go through, because either you're going in something or you're coming out of something. It's like it's a cycle.
Yes, it is.
It's a cycle. So if you just get with the cycle and get on the right side of it, right, on a mental aspect, you'll get through it.
Yes, I agree with every word you just said. Yeah. And most importantly, I think surrounding yourself with other people that understand the entrepreneurship road
right
is key, because anybody that's in business or even attempt to do a business, they know it's rocky.
They know. That's right.
It is rocky. Some days
right.
The world is on top of you. Other days you're on top of the world.
Right. I like that.
Yeah, so it can be a rough thing. Now, your book, Bank Finance Yourself to Wealth. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about that.
Yes, You Be the Bank. I published that book back in 2014. And let me explain to you what the book is about. First of all, it's about a 100+ year old strategy that the wealthy have been using for years to get ahead and set their families up to win generationally. This is something they've been using for years. Essentially, what I talk about is how to turn the tables on your creditors and allow the power of compound interest to work in your favor versus the bank's favor. Really understanding and learning the real truth about retirement planning in this country. So pretty much when I wrote this book, it was from my own personal experience. Back in 2007, somebody sold me a plan, and they sold me a good plan, but they did not explain the plan to me in its entirety. They hit the key points of the plan, but they left out a big component of the plan that, had I known about it, it would have changed my life during that time period. So it was a period actually between 2007 and 2010 that I actually realized or learned what I actually had, and it was through me reading another book 3 years later that was called Tax-Free Retirement at that time by a guy named Patrick Kelly. I read this book and I said, wait a minute, this sounds so familiar. And so come to find out, it was exactly the plan that I had. But again, the people who sold the plan to me, this was of course before I was in this business, the traditional side of finances, they neglected to let me know how I could maximize, how I can use it as an investment to accumulate wealth. They left that part out of it. And so from that point on, I got on a crusade. I was like, look, people need to know about this. And so what I did, of course, after that, I read several different books, a lot of study, a lot of research on the concept and the strategy. And then God said, you know what, let's make this, you need to write this book, but I want you to write it in everyday language that everyday people can understand, in a comprehensive format. Of course, at the time of the books I was reading, they had like college level, language for people who understand finances. But of course, the average person, no matter where they are, on the ladder, they don't necessarily understand that lingo. And so I basically took the concept, the things that I had learned, and I put it in a book format where people can follow, they can understand it, and really get a good idea of what's out here that, again, is really not very accessible to us, because this information is not the stuff you hear about on the TV, the financial gurus or pop gurus on TV who telling you to do X, Y, and Z. They're not telling you to do this, what I talk about in the book, but lo and behold, and for sure, this is what they have in their portfolio, right? And so a lot of these things they keep within, and so that's what the book is about. These type of strategies to show people how to get on the right side of the money, how to set themselves up so that they don't have to go to Bank of America or Wells Fargo and them to finance their lifestyle. They can create their own bank and do exactly what the wealthy has been doing for years. When they're able to, their kids go off to college, they, decide to start families, they're able to write checks for them right then and there. And we sitting here, middle class and lower class America, we sitting here trying to get loans and trying to qualify and things like that. But other communities, they figured out something, and that's what I talk about in the book.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So where can the book available? Hi, this is So where is your book available?
You can get it on Amazon. Mm-hmm. My site that takes you directly to Amazon is UBTheBankBooks with an S at the end.com. It'll get you there, take you right to my site. I also have it in audio format as well. And then 2 years later, in 2016, I did a workbook companion to go with it. So as you go through the actual book, I have a workbook that you work through to kind of complete and fill in, to kind of help you to apply it to your own individual situation and work through that. And then what's coming in January, I'm actually getting ready to launch a planner. A planner, a monthly financial planner, again taking the same concepts and strategies that I talk about in the book and workbook, but I have it so that every single month you're able to manage, track, and organize your spending, your investments, and your assets, all of that in one place. So I'm just trying to give people the tools that they need, it's because, I mean, most people can't afford to have someone like me, available to them every single day or even weekly, right? Mm-hmm. So if I can create some tools and some information that will give them the information that they can kind of work through and follow along on their own, that's my whole goal. And I think the planner is just going to be phenomenal to really, in addition to the workbook and the book, it's going to be a phenomenal tool to be able to give people to really stay on track. Because all of us, come January, we're all focused, right? Come time March and April, we done fell off of that savings goal or whatever goal, right? We set, right? And so I'm hoping that planner will keep you on track past that March, April time frame that we normally fall off the bus.
Oh, that sounds fabulous. Thank you. Could you also share with us your 5 top financial principles?
Okay. Let's say, all right. So it's a couple things. I'm just trying to narrow it down into some general things that everybody can benefit from. I'm not sure exactly, who's listening and where they fall, but I want to just kind of share some general things that no matter where you are on the spectrum, if you're in retirement phase, if you're at the beginning of your career, wherever you are, you should be able to benefit. And so one of the first things that I always like to share with people is that don't follow the crowd. Okay, don't follow the crowd. We hear a lot of stuff throughout life that people say, oh, they said you should do this, or they said you should do that. Whatever the masses is telling you to do the opposite. I'm going to just tell you straight up, do the opposite.
Okay.
Do the opposite, right? And I can just take that and take the next 40 minutes or whatever we have to talk about that. But that's one of the, don't follow the crowd, right? Because a lot of information that we get is general, right? It's cookie cutter. But here's the reality: is that none of us are alike. Ruth, Miss Ida, both of you, you guys might be in the same. You might be in the same generation, right? Maybe not. Right. But your whole situation is totally different.
Correct.
I don't know either of your personal situations, but one of you may be married. One of you may be single. One of you may have children. The other one may not have children. So it's no way that I'm going to provide both of you with the same exact plan. Mm-hmm. But the advice that we get, right, from the masses, it's advice that covers all, telling you to do for all of you, but you're not all the same. Mm-hmm. So when we consider different things that we do and we implement and we try to apply to our situation, we have to make sure that it's the best thing for our individual situation, and usually it's not. And so that's the first thing I'll say: don't follow the crowd. Secondly, I would say have a team of experts. All of us are expert at something, right? Mm-hmm. But a lot of us are not experts at financial stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I'm a component of put the best players on the court. You can't run all of the positions. You need to employ the help of a coach, of an accountant, a lawyer, a bookkeeper. These are your key players, your starting 5 people that you need to have in your toolbox, because they are experts at what it is that they do. So they're going to bring their expertise to your situation and help you to create a winning strategy. And a lot of times, with people, especially entrepreneurs, especially new entrepreneurs, we try to become that jack of all trades and we try to do everything ourselves. Right. And a lot of times it's because we can't afford it, but you really can't afford not to hire somebody in the long run, right? Mm-hmm. So have a team of experts around you. My third tip, I would say, and this is a big one, and these aren't in any priority, they're all equally important, right? Keep your debts and your expenses low. Live below your means. One of the things that we tend to do is the moment we get a little bit of success, the moment we climb a little bit up that ladder, right? Whether we're on a job or we're in business, we just so quick to go and acquire. I already got a house. Now I want to buy a bigger house. I already got a decent car. Now I need a better car. And the cycle just keeps going till we get to a point where we are living on 110% of our income. So what happens is when a crisis happens, which we know they're going to happen,
right?
We find ourselves in a situation that, we don't want to be in. Or if one of those sources of income go away or dry up or something happens, somebody dies, somebody gets sick, now we in between a rock and a hard place. But if we would have built a lifestyle that was based off of us living on maybe, just say, 70% of your income, then we have a little room for a rainy day to happen. We have a little room for something that does not go as planned. And so that's one of the things that I really like to encourage people to do is keep their debt down and their expenses low, because the more cash flow you have, the more freedom you have. The more freedom you have to invest and take advantage of opportunities and things like that. Okay, so my next one will be, and I kind of hit on this one in the previous one, is obtaining multiple income sources, passive income streams. I mean, we live in a day and time right now where it's almost impossible for you to live off of just one source of income.
Right.
That's right.
you gotta have some type of hustle going on. Side business, I don't care, side business, call it what you want, hustle, whatever. You gotta have something else going on besides one, because everything is going up around us, except the paychecks. If you have a 9-to-5, the paychecks isn't keeping up with inflation. And so you're forced to have, and I like to emphasize the passive income. That's income that you're not necessarily going out there to work for. You're not trading that time for the money, right? Or if you trade in time, it's very minimum. Those are the type of income sources you want, because we all only have about 24 hours a day, and you can't work all of that time. You gotta sleep. You gotta sleep sometime, right? And if you got a family, you better give them some time, or you're going to be in a situation too, So if we can kind of find a way to leverage ourselves and create some other sources that doesn't require so much of our time and energy, that's another good thing as well. And then lastly, I would just say, just being open-minded and willing to learn, not being afraid to take the limited risk when the potential reward is great. So many times, again, some people, they just get to a point where, they know it all. They're good at what they do. You can't tell them nothing. You gotta constantly be open for new information. The world is forever changing. Everything is evolving right in front of our eyes. And if you're not willing to learn new things, right, you're going to be left behind, because the world is moving at a really fast pace. And so once you have that understanding, don't be afraid to take that limited risk. And sometimes we get stuck on, fear of failure. But I know both of you know that how many times we failed. We failed so many times, but it was those failures that got us to the successes. And so the more times we fail, the closer we get to the success. So not being afraid. I was just sharing this story with someone the other day about, how even people in my grandmother ended up, once my great grandmother passed away and grandfather, I went to live with my grandmother, and was there from high school, until I went away to the Army. And one of the things, she's 83 now, so she's a part of that silent generation. But everything that I wanted to do in my 20s, she told me not to do it. She told me not to do it. And it wasn't because she didn't want to see me win. it was because she was afraid to see me fail.
Mm-hmm.
I told her, Grandma, I want to buy real estate. She said, girl, don't do that. People going to be calling you in the middle of the night with them toilets and all that, right? That was her exact words to me. And again, she want to see me win 100%. She not hating on me, not one bit. But again, we be scared to take that risk, right? Because of so many, it's generational, it's cultural sometimes, but you can't be afraid to take the risk. It's limited when the potential reward is great. Now, I'm talking about calculated risk. I ain't telling you just jump out there on everything that's coming and flying past you, right? I'm talking about calculating those opportunities and measuring it up against the risk versus the reward.
Right.
Oh, those were fabulous. Thank you so much for that.
Yes. So how do people get in contact with you?
A couple of ways. Of course, I'm all on the social media and all that good stuff. My firm, my firm is located in Landover, Maryland. We service, of course, the entire DMV, and I do a lot of my work virtually as well, and then also other states as well. But my website is JovanWalker.net. JovanWalker.net. And as I said, I'm also on Facebook under @Dr. Jovan Walker on Facebook, as well as Twitter, on LinkedIn, as well as Jovan Walker. I got married last year, so just as you might hear two different last names. Walker was my previous name, and Jackson is my new name. But of course, everything is still in Walker. So I'm slowly but surely transitioning things over. So Dr. Jovan Walker on Facebook and Twitter. On Instagram, Dr. Jovan Walker _Jackson. So yeah, you just type in Jovan Walker, you'll find me on all of the social networks. And like I said, my website, JovanWalker.net.
Wow.
Excellent.
Some great points. I'm interested in reading your book because, to learn some of the, secrets that's not secrets, that's just not shared with us.
Right.
Just the whole title is intriguing. You do bank.
Awesome.
We're so busy running around trying to get somebody else to give us a loan or whatever. That we never think about what can we do for ourselves. Create what it is that we need.
That's right. That's it.
I'm eager to read that.
Awesome.
Awesome. Indeed. This has been. Now, I just want one little thing from the book. Give us one secret.
Well, I start the book out by talking about building the foundation, because before you can really start to build wealth and accumulate wealth, you have to have a firm, a solid foundation. And so I talk about what that looks like. Building your financial pyramid. When we think about a pyramid, it's a very stable structure, right? It's been able to withstand the test of time architecturally. And we feel that same concept works well when planning someone's financial future. And so I go into what your financial pyramid looks like and how you need to kind of start building and get things set up. And then once you have that in place, then we kind of talk about, okay, what is how to build the bank? How do you create that infrastructure so that you can be able to support yourself and to be able to set yourself up in a position where you can lend to yourself and not have to go and like I said, not have to go and beg for money from these institutions who, and who we end up sending their kids to Harvard and Yale with all the interest that we pay on our debts, right? We can do the same thing, pay ourselves that same interest and keep that money, and we can send our own kids to some of these Ivy League institutions because we have the money. We just give it away.
That's right.
We just
Great spenders.
Yes.
Great
Spend,
spend.
spend.
That's
Yes.
it. That's it, Miss Ruth.
Yes, and that definitely has to change. Otherwise, we would have created, a bad situation for us, not just individually, but as a group of people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
That's
what
right.
we've done. That's where we are now.
Yep.
Yeah.
We cannot really talk about having an economic foundation
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because everything that we receive, we spend.
Mm-hmm.
Brought out, there's a limit to what you can make at a 9 to 5.
Right.
And we're really not willing to get out there and scrape and scramble and maybe get other streams of income.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you, I have one question for you. Well, I guess it's multiple, actually. I always have these multiple questions. One is that how do seniors fit into this?
Well, now when you say into this, what are you speaking of specifically?
I'm talking about you be the bank.
Okay. So it's a couple of things with the seniors. It depends on their situation. So sometimes, when you at the senior level, you're in the phase of life where you are in the distribution phase of life, right? Of your retirement. Before you get to senior, so the phases are the first, before you decide to up to age like 50, 60, you're in accumulation phase. So it's during that time that you are just accumulating your assets, building up. And then what happens is when you go to retire, you transition to distribution phase. So now you take everything that you've accumulated, and now it's time for you to kind of distribute that in the form of income for yourself so that you can continue to live, right, on the lifestyle that you built. So the you be the bank strategy is essentially, it falls more in the accumulation phase. So with seniors, what I found with some of the seniors is that now they are looking at this from a legacy standpoint. So now their idea is, how can I take this information and set up my children and my grandchildren so that they will be able to have, so that I can leave something for them so that they don't have to start over when it's time for them to get out there. They'll have a head start. So that's kind of where the singers have taken advantage of this. They've kind of put things in place for their grandchildren or their children to, again, help them to be in a position to, because at the point that they're in, they've kind of already done most of the accumulating that they're going to do. So now what I tend to do with seniors is now I transition them to show them, okay, how can we take what you have accumulated? This is a whole nother strategy, but how can we take what you've accumulated and how can we maximize that so we can make sure that you don't run out of money? Okay. Right. So you don't run out of money. So it's not the you be the bank strategy when I'm dealing with seniors from that aspect, outside of the legacy planning part. But when they're looking to deal with their own personal situation, now we kind of transition on how can we maximize that distribution phase for them so that the sources and the pots of money that they built up, how can we maximize that and make sure they get the most bang from what they've been able to do during that accumulation phase. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. This has been awesomeness, to say the least. So again, how can people get in contact with you?
I like you can call me up directly. My number is 301-577-6340. That's the number to my office. Or again, you can go into my website. I have a consultation form right on my website, jovanwalker.net. That's JOVANWALKER.net. And you can set up a consultation with me via my website, and definitely, we do workshops. I do webinars online. I have a whole YouTube. Yeah, I forgot about YouTube. If you go to Dr. Jovan Walker on YouTube, or was it the Jovan Walker on YouTube? I have, I don't know, over 100 different videos on different topics, financial topics. I used to do every single week. I do a segment called Money Motives via Facebook Live. I stopped, I have a 10-month-old. I stopped just before I had the baby. But I have over 2 years worth of videos there that I did every single week. And they're under 20 minutes or less, where you can go on there and just, listen to different, it's pure education, no selling of anything. Of course, I share my book, but it's just all information on there. And I love to connect with your audience via any of those, of those platforms.
Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome, because I definitely believe that it's important for us to understand money.
Yes.
Yes. Things we're not taught.
Nope.
We were taught how to count nickels and pennies and dimes.
and bail at that.
Right. And I think the attitude is changing, because, a lot of people, in my circles, they are teaching their children.
Yeah.
About finances, because like I said before, a lot of times people are thinking about legacy at a certain point, and I believe that it's not necessarily what you give your child in terms of material things. It's way more important to teach your children how to fish.
That's right.
That's right.
That's way more important, because life can come and wipe it away. At a blink of an eye. But they have to know how to rebuild.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And if you ask like the average middle-aged person, like, what if you ask the middle-aged person something to the effect of, what would you, if you could go back and change something up, about your life, a lot of them will tell you, oh, if I knew what I knew now about money, oh man, I would have did a whole lot of things different. They would say, I wouldn't have been accepting all them credit card applications in college. I would have took, I wouldn't have threw away so much money. They go into all of the things that they wish they had known. But just like you said, now people are starting to teach, the children now, because they see, like, if I don't teach these children, this cycle is going to continue to, perpetuate. And so we better, like, I teach my daughter, like, I take her with me when I'm doing workshops and stuff. I take her with me. She listens to me do those videos I did every week. She would sit there and listen to it.
Right.
Yeah, she watches me teach. And so I teach her, when just because you got the money doesn't mean you have to spend it.
Right.
You don't spend it just because you got it. You hold on to it till when you really need it. I tell her, we go, I said, wait a minute, we're going to look. Sometimes I can see she's excited. She just look. I said, wait a minute. You're just looking for something to buy. No, we're going to look until we see something that you want. We're not just going to find something to buy just because you got the money to spend it. And so I had to teach her there was a difference, in that. So it's a process.
Yes. Well, it has been awesome, Jovan. You are definitely a wealth of information.
Oh, thank
and
you.
I know that my listeners have definitely taken some notes, I'm hoping.
Yes.
Really got value from this conversation, because it has definitely been full of.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, it's been a pleasure. I love being able to connect with other people like yourself. You guys are doing some amazing things, just empowering the community at large. And this is, we need more people. And I know it's a sacrifice for what you guys do. It's time consuming. Trust me, I've done it. So I know what it's like, especially when you really committed to it, the time that it takes to go into the studios and put your material together. People don't realize what you guys, the sweat equity that goes into that. And sometimes you don't even benefit right away. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, I just always commend people like you and Miss Ruth, because this is what's needed for our community. I always like to be able to say at the end of the day, I did something to contribute, right?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't change the world, but my contribution, I did something to try to make a difference. And so you guys are doing just that with this show and all the other things that you're doing collectively with our community. So thank you so much just for the opportunity to come and share on your platform.
Oh, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
We appreciate.
Yes, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Word on the street says there's something new at Just Minding My Business Media. You've heard our podcast, Just Minding My Business Radio, that brings news and views you can use. That airs every Thursday at 6 p.m. on iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and Spreaker. Well, now you can watch Just Minding My Business. That's right, Just Minding My Business Media now has a TV presence on Raven International TV Network, broadcast on Roku, Fire, and Apple TV. Your business, through Just Minding My Business Media, has exposure on internet radio, major social media platforms, and now TV. Through Just Minding My Business, dynamic digital marketing platform. Don't listen to the word on the street. Hear it for yourself. Visit jmmb.asistercircle.org to learn how you can take your business, your vision, to the next level. Thank you to the amazing women of A Sister Circle Empowerment Network, ASCEN LLC, and our media partners. Let Just Minding My Business Media promote your business. For information, visit us at jmmb.asistercircle.org. That's jmmb.asistercircle.org. Voiceovers by RCH VoiceWorks, for when you want to be heard. Call 443-620-4115.
Thank you for tuning in to Just Minding My Business Radio. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
We hope you enjoyed the show and appreciate you stopping by. Many blessings to you and yours.